On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. There is a great deal going on. It starts like this every time, and it's going to continue like this through the election. A lot of changes are happening. A lot of battles are occurring. A lot of information's being thrown about. A lot of stuff right now is happening in an effort to try to hide other news that's coming out. There's a lot going on. We've got an interesting theory that I've been hearing quite a bit that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if I disagree or agree, but I wanted to talk about it. I pulled up some information, and I just don't know. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We'll see where we get. Also got some great information that was released today that is incredibly damning for the deep state, and this ties around Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, the whole 9 yards. And also, we've got a couple major Q drops today. There is a Tucker Carlson video that is just amazing. It's about 6 minutes long, and there's also this pretty heavy slide that's got a lot of information that I want to talk about. I want to spend a little time on, because one, the information in there is very good. Two, it sort of states how this is playing out, how this has been playing out, and kind of helps us all understand the bigger picture. There is a lot going on, and depending on where you're getting your information, what you're paying attention to, who you're listening to, how awake you are at this point in your life, like there's so many factors into what you might understand right now. There's a lot coming on. Hopefully we can try to do our best to make some good sense of it. And I wanted to have a little fun with the flag planting, because frankly right now, as the thumbnail kind of implied, now's the time we need to stand up for our country. Now's the time we need to stand up for a system that is amazing. Is it perfect? No, but it's outstandingly good. And it can be improved. We have means to do that. There's no reason to go to the lengths that we're going to try to destroy something that has been very good. One of the most successful, if not the most successful government ever. And I think we've got some corruption with the deep state that we need to deal with. And that's what's going on right now. If you think about it, everybody, quote, hates Trump, because he's like the dude. He said it before. He's like, they're not really after me. They're after you. I'm just in the way. And he is. And he really has put a lot on his line. Now, he's a billionaire. He'll be fine, whatever the heck. But he's put a lot on the line, his family's safety, to try to help this country. And he's done it because I think he loves us. I'm sure there's some financial gain. Maybe there's not. I mean, I'm just, again, if there is, be a big whoop. But the fact of the matter is, he actually cares about you and I. And that has been evident by who's getting the money. He's not giving it to the states. He's not giving it to the banks like Obama and all them did. But he's actually giving it to us, the people. It's the first time that I can think of where they actually seem like Trump anyway, seems like he actually cares about us. We've got situations where Obama was speaking at the funeral, saying some crazily divisive and outlandish stuff. We're going to see some examples of that a little later. There is so much going on that really, it's just, you've got to sit back and realize there is a plan in action. There's a plan in motion. There truly is a bit of a good versus evil going on, a lot of that, frankly. And there's this part that we're going to play when it comes to voting and when it comes to protecting and standing up for rights and being vocal when we need to and not letting people push us over. And when they're walking into our neighborhoods, we're actually the ones that peacefully create a line to not allow them into the neighborhood. Again, there's things that we can do. So we are going to work on taking back our flag, possibly planting it in any number of places, and maybe punching an alien in the face if we have to. I don't recommend violence ever. But if that alien's mean and he's trying to take your flag down, come on, man. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. This was probably more of an accident, but yeah, I saw a great video that I need to watch on how to stop procrastinating. I guess Jordan Peterson's talking about it. I'm going to check it out tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. Hey, Epstein, a lot's come out, by the way. A lot has come out. Now, Prince Andrew, probably not a big surprise, and then a little not so squeaky clean Clinton over here, who also spoke at the funeral. Yeah, he's sort of showing up all over the place. Had this particular interview that was released, and they talked about the two young girls, and Clinton was there, and why was he there, and he talked about how he owed him one, and all this whole crazy out stuff that's they're releasing. Bill Clinton's definitely tied up in this. Prince Andrew definitely tied up in this whole thing. Tracy Beans, she's awesome. I've been following her for quite some time. But yeah, she kind of was digging into all this. We'll see what any interesting stuff we get out of her. I haven't dug into this. There's just so much information. I didn't think it was worth going into every bit of it. But yeah, Yeah, she's pointing out just gobs of information. I could do a whole show just on this stuff. The amount of stuff that's been released with Epstein there's that video again. I love how much traction this is getting. It's played in my last video. If you guys haven't seen it, you can go to my channel, my videos. This is great. This is probably one of the best 3 minutes of video you'll ever watch. It's outstanding. I'm not playing it again. I just played it yesterday. But again, we've got a lot going on with information coming out and damning Clinton, damning Prince Andrew, and others' names are starting to come up. Things are starting to get a little scary for many people out there. And of course, Ghislaine Maxwell's not been taken down yet. And if you think about it, she probably should have been before stuff starts coming out. So stuff's already coming out. Be curious to keep my eye on her and just make sure nothing crazy is going on. This is kind of weird. I don't know why I'm going to read this. Hi, Christina. I was wondering if you remember me from Sydney Consulate. I am a victim of the investigation from Jeffrey Epstein case and was wondering if you could tell me if I would be able to get a hold of any of the pics or video of the FBI might have confiscated from Epstein's residences. Also, can I ask if you might have any of the flight logs that include my name in them to be sent to me as well? It's all for evidential purposes and would prove of many things to help my case. Kindest regards, Virginia Roberts. I think some people are suspicious that Virginia might be the V that's mentioned up in some of these V and JS. Again, important part, information's coming out. So many of us are like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When are the rest going to happen? Stuff's coming out. You know what? In all honesty, and I thought about this today, Bill Clinton might be one of the biggest people to get nabbed on this whole thing. He's already lost his ability to practice law. He's already been impeached as a president. I mean, why not? I mean, from a deep state standpoint, and he's practically dead, and Hillary would probably eat his corpse. So, again, I don't think there's any love for this guy. I think the deep state would sacrifice him in a second. So I'm just wondering, who knows? Because that would be a big funeral, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be amazing if that guy just suddenly keeled over? But yeah, all sorts of fun pictures of people hanging out that shouldn't be with people that are obviously minors at the time. And yeah, a lot of information. And again, all these Anons are digging out some great stuff, and people are going to bring it to the surface. There is no way. Oh yeah, Alan Dershowitz, there's another name. He's a major Fox contributor. Haven't seen him too much on Fox News lately. And he was also part of President Trump's little congressional team, which I thought was interesting. So, he's probably a very good lawyer on top of being gross, disgusting pedophile. Hey, you mix and match, right? You take the good, you take the bad, take them both, and there you have facts of life. And yeah, that seems to be kind of how stuff's been happening. A lot of us that are waking up right now do not realize how much crazy stuff has been happening in the background. Epstein Island and the thing up in Northern California where they dress up and pray to the owl god and all the crazy stuff that goes on out there. I mean, it's just ridiculous, some of the crazy stuff. So, again, keep tabs. We'll let you know. More stuff's going to come out. I promise. No big deal there. Now, another thing that's been talked a lot about is this connection. So, I don't know if you know, Herman Cain recently died. And he is, he's a Republican, which caught me off guard. I was expecting that to be different. What's interesting, though, is so he worked for Burger King, Godfather's Pizza, and his name's Cain. So there's been this talk of Cain and Abel. I think there was a post somewhere, or I couldn't find a Q post that had it, but there was a tweet somewhere. Someone was talking about Cain and Abel. They've also talked about The Godfather, and a lot of posts. And I'm going to show some of those here in a second. And they're trying to say that there's a reference to him, to that, like The Godfather, and the fact they keep talking about The Godfather, that they maybe were talking about him going down, or the fact that he was going to go down, or that he was maybe going to be sacrificed. I'm not sure. It just doesn't seem to fit, because when I start to look at some of the Godfather posts, I'm going to click down here to the bottom, just sort of start. They started forever ago, like November 5th, 2017, like back at the beginning. I think the end of October was the very first post. So he starts talking about Godfather. He's got it mixed in with Snow White now. So, okay, again, references, it seems. Snow White, Godfather. We're talking Hillary. We're talking all this other stuff. Now we're getting into Alice in Wonderland, Godfather. Now, here's the problem. I have not seen Godfather. And I know, before you get mad at me, own it. In fact, I've got a little bit of furlough time coming up that I'm going to probably watch this, right? So I know it's an amazing movie, and I know it's a movie I'm going to love, and I'm finally going to watch it. And then a lot of this stuff I think is going to start to make more sense to me. But again, we've got these things where he's talking in these terms. Godfather. He gets up here where he says, again, Snow White. He gets up here also where he starts talking about Iron Eagle in Godfather. We'll get up here a little further. There's this reference in a number of places where, again, is tied to Snow White. So there's something going on with all of this. Now, I don't know if Snow White's someone that's already happened, if these are names of operations, because now we're starting to get it mixed in with Iron Eagle. And then we also start to see it get mixed in again with Iron Eagle. Snow White's still there. Alice in Wonderland's still there. Again, these are like, I think these were operations. So then we started getting into Hunt for Red October. And they talked about that for a while. You guys remember how they talked about Hunt for Red October for a while? Well, Iron Eagle is already done. Godfather's forever. Still sort of saying Godfather. I don't think they're referencing Herman Cain. It seems like it's more tied into operations. It seems like it's more... nothing's as it seems. And they're mixing it in with the Godfather and the Lord's Prayer. They're just all over the place. Nazis. Why not? Got Sum of All Fears also. Hunt for Red October, Godfather, White Squall. Now, a lot of these movies do tend to have sort of that commonality to them. That the hero, the small band, can actually make a big difference. The hero can save the day. That small group, us, which we're really huge now, actually, but that small number of people can actually make an enormous difference. And kind of the same way with insurgencies, that happens as well, which is what's going to get us into the newest Q posts. Now, this one's the Tucker Carlson video, and I'm going to show that one for sure. I've got it. It's queued up and ready to go. It's 6.5 minutes, and it's worth 6.5 minutes. I want to kind of finish off with this because I think it's a strong video that stands on its own and brings up a lot of very interesting points that need to be considered right now as they try to enforce this vote by mail, or essentially as they try to grab power back from us however they can. Right now, the Patriots have control of the wheel. They are trying to take it off. They are trying to take the wheel away from us. They are trying to take back control. So we're going to cover that next. But before, I'm going to go out of order. So that was 4619. We're going to actually look at 4620 because this is a pretty heavy slide. There's a lot going on with this one. And I think it was worthy of a little bit of discussion. And then we're going to go into that video. And I think, again, we're going to all be sitting there going, oh, man, I think it's starting to make sense to me what's going on. So again, infiltration, something to keep in mind. This is what's essentially being attempted or has happened. It kind of has happened already, but I think we're fighting it off. So they're already within us, and they've kind of showed their face. And now a lot of us, patriots certainly, and people that are awake are going, oh no, this is what's going on. And others are waking up to how these people are. But only those who could or can be controlled via blackmail or like beliefs. So you got some really dark people that believe in some very dark things, okay? So you've got that segment of the population. You've also got people that, Clinton, for example, very easy to blackmail. Very easy to blackmail. Offer him up a young lady, he's like, I don't care, right? And then boom, just keeps doing it over and over. These are the only people that are allowed to be in charge. You either have to have proven your worthiness through an act that is beyond horrific, or you have to have been blackmailed. You have to have dirt on you. Otherwise, you are never allowed to reach these levels of power. I think Trump's old money, so that's how I think he was able to sneak through, or he's been aware of this because he's been in the big money world, and he's seen all this crazy stuff, probably, and even gone to a few of these bohemian things, right? Been there a couple times. So he's seen some of this stuff firsthand. There is a weird wealth club that happens. Now, they talk about command control positions being CCP, but they also is the Chinese Communist Party. And I think it's both. But a lot of this has to do with China. Giving China control of this country, giving China control of us, giving China military advantages, giving China intellectual advantages on products and on technologies. They've been able to go from generation 1 to generation 5 in such a short period of time. It's taken us decades. They've done it in less than a decade. It was never about the virus, and it never has been. This has always been about control. So we kind of want to go over the sequence of events. Flynn, first strike to them, designated 1, to cripple, 2, prevent exposure of illegal acts. Flynn knew a bunch of stuff. So by taking him down, that kind of kept him from being able to talk. He's now tied up. He can't talk to anybody, and nobody's going to listen to him, right? He can sit in jail and bang on the bars and say all he wants. No one's going to say anything. And it allowed them discovery. It allowed them to go even deeper into this wealth of knowledge that they were trying to get their hands on. And they were trying to replace, right, and cause all these problems. So then McMaster was brought in. He was to removal of loyalists and intel community, right? So he was cleaning out all the people that were going to do anything to help the Patriots. You've got controlled rogue Coates, right? He was DNI, prevent D-class. So he was a House-Senate blockade. You had another couple rogues that they referred to. It looks like another three, four, five, six people, 4 people, right? McMaster's, Coates, Ray, Bolton, plus seems to come in again. Interesting. Install controlled Rogue 7, which they're calling Bolton. We've got Bolton's removal of loyalist intel community. So again, he was continuing the work. Intel community was trying to infiltrate and prevent D-class or public exposure of what was actually going on in the world. And essentially, they were then doing illegal surveillance of not just the Republican parties, but basically anyone that was anti-deep state. Mostly those were on the Republican Party, and I do think there's probably a few sleepers maybe on the Dem side. Maybe. Hoping. We'll see. So we got all these candidates, House members, Senate members, all these different people that they're just trying to block all this stuff. There's a lot of people tied up in this. There's a lot of people that are guilty. There's a lot of people with all sorts of dirt on their hands, and it's going to come out. So then, of course, Mueller, sorry, he installed Comey, termination, loss of power, POTUS inside of a box, right? Prevent any sort of counterattacks by keeping him locked down with the constant people trying to impeach him and constantly looking into everything he's doing and spying on him. They knew exactly what he was up to. The impeachment was stalled. Once again, Mueller's termination, loss of power. The POTUS was inside the box still. I already said that. The insurance plan above failed. So then they installed the impeachment. Again, POTUS is still inside the box. So they informed the POTUS, hey, they let the POTUS know, basically, look, we got intel that says the CDC, the WHO, and all these other people are doing a lot of nefarious things. Shouldn't trust them. Don't trust them right now. We've got problems, right? So these organizations were trying to tell Trump, hey, you got nothing to fear. There's no issues. But they were starting to realize, oh, no, there's more to it. But again, we had all these major organizations that were giving bad advice about traveling, whether to close down the travel routes or not. Stage 2, we got informed POTUS of doomsday inaccurate scenarios. They were planning on models that were going to be showing millions of people, right? Remember that? They were talking about millions of people are going to die. So they really wanted him to hardcore lock down. They wanted him to dictator because that was going to really help them prove their point. But ultimately, that's what they wanted anyway. But they essentially wanted to ruin the economy, and they wanted to really try to get the unemployment back into play. They need unemployment. They need people sponging off the system because those people tend to be very fond of government programs. So we still continue to Stage 3 now, we're activate controlled Democrat governors to spike death counts, right? They started shoving people into the old folks' home. They started doing all these crazy things. They allow people to protest. They're allowing them to write certain Black Lives Matters on the streets, but they can't write anything else on the streets. We've got specific people that are going out of their way, Dem govs, to cause more deaths and certainly more chaos. Stage 4 was to push testing. They wanted to spike. They wanted to creep those numbers, get them higher and higher and higher. So as we get more and more numbers, it keeps that fear going. And it allows that political setup. It allows that narrative that, hey, we got to vote from home. You can't go out there. You can't go out. The mask isn't even good enough. Oh, no. But they can't say that. But they want to, but they can't, right? They want to say it's like horrible that not even masks are good enough. But then if they say that, well, then nothing's working, right? And then what's the point? Why are we locked, right? So anyway. So we got testing. Stage 5, they want to eliminate, censor any opposing views. We've been seeing that. We're living that one right now. And, of course, ready when needed. They activated the 4-year BLM narrative. 4 times power, uses division, 2020. Again, the same thing. Every single election year, the BLM happens or the Antifa people start to do their thing. Like, it's just a standard kind of thing that they do over and over. They've got these foot soldiers that they're allowed to take advantage of. Used to be. Again, a lot of these people keep getting arrested. There's all sorts of videos of people getting yanked off the streets. Yeah, it's a lot of these guys. They know who the leaders are. They're literally yanking the leaders out and putting them in jail for a very long period of time. And it is destroying this movement. It's why I think we finally have peace in Portland. We have actually removed enough of the bad people in Portland to where they were finally like, yeah, and the regular good people were able to, again, form a line and basically hold the protesters off and say, we're not doing this anymore. We're done. Stuff's starting to change. So C19, calculated Democratic political gain. This is why all this stuff was happening. This is why. A lot of people are like, well, why would they go to such great lengths? Again, they want power. But what does that really mean? Well, eliminate the record economic gains that Trump's had. Eliminate his record unemployment numbers that he had. Shelter Biden so he didn't have to talk to anybody. Shelter Biden from the Ukraine exposure so he didn't have to answer questions to that. Shelter Biden from public debates because the guy is a nut job. Delay the Democratic convention so they can finally do the switcheroo and put someone in there that hopefully people will vote for, but on top of that isn't a total doof like Biden. They wanted to delay the convention, right? They didn't want that decision to happen. They wanted to eliminate the delay of POTUS rallies. They don't want to give him the ability to get people amped up and excited and talk to him for hours and really make a difference. Didn't want to eliminate the ability for other people to gather, right? So by not allowing us to gather, that forces us to divide. More problems. They eliminated the ability to find peace. So in strength in a time of need, right? So we've got strict church closures. People that really do need to kind of go back to church and have that strength from their pastor or their priests or whoever. And to not be able to have that right now is, again, crushing for so many people, just losing that ability to have that. They want to promote mail-in voting. It's the only safe means. And by doing that, by the way, they bypass the NSA election security. A whole bunch of stuff was figured out in the midterm elections. The NSA locked down the voting, the electronic voting. Deep State knows that. They know they cannot cheat by electronic voting anymore. The normal voting that they had been cheating is no longer possible to cheat. And somebody would say, what do you mean cheating? Those Diebold machines that they were using, at least in a number of facilities, were hacked by all sorts of different people, proving how easy they were to hack. So they were full of holes. Those have been cleaned up. There was a push to try to push a state bailout stimulus. They're talking about this right now in the news, right? Pelosi's trying to get this extra money for California and New York because these two states are broke. Two horribly mismanaged states that have been Democrat-run states for decades are broke. Two biggest populations, I think, are close to it, and well, California is. Increased national debt, and by doing that, that actually puts China in a place of stronger power. So again, they're trying to make us, again, we're just trying to print up money left, right, and center. Those trillions of dollars, this isn't free money. There's a lot of people who are like, that's just free money, isn't it? No. That's money that your kids, your grandkids, and your great-grandkids have to pay back. Now, at some point, I think we're going to thumb our nose at somebody. But in theory, we owe that money. So test conditional limits of public acceptance. Obey, right? How much stuff will the public accept? How much stuff will the public not accept and fight back on? How much stuff can state authority, government mayors and whatnot, get away with before the people are like, you're legally not allowed to do that? And what sort of censorship will people tolerate and allow? Democrats are doing a lot of bad stuff. China's doing a lot of bad stuff. They keep trying to say Russia's the enemy. Whether they are or aren't doesn't matter. China's also the enemy, right? No matter what. And they keep trying to be like, no, China's our friend. They're our friend. No, they're not trying to do anything wrong. Those seeds they're sending, they're friendly seeds. MSDNC social media programming, again, they're just trying to hit people with the same talking points, and I hear it all the time from my friends on the left, all the time. They say this stuff over and over. All assets are deployed. Everything's on the table. Everybody's out there in the middle of it all. Everything was seen yesterday, today, and tomorrow equals calculated political moves, events designed and launched by the Democratic Party in coordination with other domestic and foreign entities in an attempt to regain power over you. Nothing happening right now is just by chance. These things are orchestrated. All it takes, there's a great video that was shared, and I wish I just don't have the time to share it right now, but it's a video that shows one guy just dancing on the grass in this concert, and then like after about a minute, maybe not even that long, maybe about a minute, a second guy joins. Then within seconds, a third guy joins. And then within very few seconds, there was dozens of people dancing. That's how easy it is to shift a crowd. Crowds are simple to distort. They're very simple to distort. That is what they're doing. So everything's out there, folks. They're trying to prevent accountability. They don't want us to realize that Obama's still in charge. The shadow presidency is still happening. There's a shadow government. Well, it's pretty much lost control, but that's where the fight is at right now. It's information warfare. They control the information for the most part, with the exception of what us Anons and what everybody's doing around this whole bringing out the truth, digging into some of these facts, fact-checking all these stories. There is so much great work that's happening. We wouldn't be able to do it without all these people. It's everybody coming together. Where we go one, we go all. That is what is happening. It's amazing. This is an insurgency, folks. We are fighting to maintain our republic. We're fighting to maintain the greatest country that ever lived. We're fighting to maintain a beautiful world that we can continue to evolve. There's a lot of people that are talking about going back to the old ways. It's one thing that comes up in Tucker Carlson saying, I don't fully agree to go back to the way it was. That's never going to happen. It's not. The world is forever changed. People are awake now to what's been going on. A lot of the evil is coming out. A lot of this predation, whatever, is not happening the way it was. We're aware of that. The world is never going to be the same. Now is the time to evolve and change. Getting off fossil fuels, using some of this technology that exists right now, that's dark, deep projects, that we're not allowed to see because it's top secret. There's technologies where energy is way more efficient than what we're currently allowed to use. We can change this world if we can get these pesky deep state people out of the way that keep wanting to control us through having to buy trillions of dollars of oil, for having to buy trillions of dollars of electricity, all of the power that we have to pay for. That is how they keep us trapped. You can't do anything without the power. Our voices are what matters, and our votes are what matters. Patriots, stand together, all of us. Put your flags out if you've got them. Welcome to the revolution, my friends, because that is where we are. So this is the most recent post, but I wanted to get back to this awesome video that Tucker Carlson did. I wanted to kind of close out with this. You know, I'll do my little goodbye at the end, but I want to remind you guys, if you've subscribed or haven't subscribed, please do so. Please click the subscribe button, hit the likes, notifications, thumbs up on the video, all that nonsense. And if you could too, please, if you got the little PayPal donation, feel free. Always appreciate each and every one of you. Some of you have been so awesome. And anyways, let's sit. Tucker Carlson, this is a great little piece that he's got here.
Months of rioting and political chaos, there are still people out there who claim this is all about the death of George Floyd. Believe it or not, there are. Some of the people who say that may actually believe it. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt. The liberal mom who lives next door to you, for example. She's probably entirely sincere when she lectures you about the scourge of police brutality. She means it. She has no idea BLM is about anything else. We're not judging, and that's not surprising. Most Americans are nice people. They're literal and ingenuous. They tend to take claims at face value because they want to believe the best. But in this case, they are wrong. None of what you are watching is about civil rights. Violence and race baiting are the enemies of civil rights. What you're watching instead is a power grab. It's being coordinated by the most ruthless and cynical figures in American politics. They don't want you to know what they're doing. They're not honorable enough to state their intentions. They're not like you at all. When normal people want something, they can be aggressive. But the professional left never is. It's invariably passive-aggressive. Their first instinct is to manipulate rather than persuade. They hide their real beliefs. They say precisely the opposite of what they mean every time. They accuse you of the crimes they themselves are committing. It makes your head spin. Arguing with them is pointless, by the way. They're nihilists. They don't believe in the existence of truth or in the fixed meaning of words. They care only about power. It's painful to say this. It hurts to admit there are people in our country who are like this, but there are, and they have more power than ever. If you needed more evidence of that, Barack Obama showed up at Congressman John Lewis's funeral today. Obama claimed he was there to eulogize his own friend, but that's not true, and that's not what he did. Instead, Obama gave a divisive and deeply dishonest campaign speech in church. Here's part of what he said.
By ending some of the partisan gerrymandering so that all voters have the power to choose their politicians, not the other way around. And if all this takes eliminating the filibuster, another Jim Crow relic, in order to secure the God-given rights of every American, then that's what we should do.
It's hard to believe that clip is real, but it is, down to the cloying fake accent, Mr. Hawaii guy. But take 3 steps back. Imagine if some greasy politician showed up at your loved one's funeral and started throwing around stupid partisan talking points about Senate procedure. Can you imagine that? You would be shocked if that happened. You'd probably walk out. Desecrating a funeral with campaign slogans? What kind of person would do that? But Democrats in the audience didn't seem offended. They didn't blink. They cheered. It all seemed normal to them. And why wouldn't it? Political power is their religion. It's not out of place in a church. It's what they worship. People who will politicize a funeral will do anything, and they're trying to. Democrats are working systematically to dismantle the core institutions of American life, beginning with the family and with faith. They're subverting the core system in our government, the justice system. They're nullifying laws, burning police stations, attacking courthouses, working to eliminate the legal equality of American citizens, the foundation of it all. They've systematically repurposed federal law enforcement agencies as political weapons. They have imprisoned their political opponents. Their leaders have called for making all of these changes permanent by packing the Supreme Court, packing the United States Senate, packing the electorate itself by importing tens of millions of new voters. Why are they doing all of this? They'll tell you it's to make the country better and more just, but the country isn't improving and it's not fairer. They're doing this for one reason: to ensure they have complete control of the United States. We're watching it happen right now, though almost no one ever admits it, and those who do come close to getting shut down. We can tell you stories. So how should the rest of us respond to what we're seeing? And let's be clear, by the rest of us, we're not just talking about conservatives or people who watch the show. We're talking about literally everybody else. Moderates, the politically non-aligned, traditional liberals who still care about civil liberties, there are some of those, sincere religious people of all faiths, immigrants from abroad who came to this country because of our Bill of Rights, only to watch it evaporate once they got here. In other words, everyone who fundamentally loves this country, which is still most Americans. What do people like that do in the face of this revolution? Well, it's simple. Defend the system that we have. That's our job. The American system is flawed, no one doubts that, but it works better than any other system in history. And tearing it down will not help. In fact, it will benefit only a few, the ones pushing for it, and it will crush millions. So if you care about the United States, fight for its institutions. They have served us well. This country has survived almost 250 years through a civil war. Let's keep going. The president this morning vented his frustrations on Twitter about potential voter fraud in the upcoming election. He wrote this, quote, "With universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good, 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment to the United States." We don't know if that's true. We hope it's not. It could be, though. That's what the president wrote. And then he ended this way, quote, "Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote." End quote. Delay the election. And that was the headline across cable news today. And we should be clear, that will not happen. The election will almost certainly take place in November. But at this point, it's probably unwise to suggest changing the election, voter fraud or not. Too much is in flux already. That's not accidental, it's by design. A bewildered population dealing with change from every possible direction cannot fight back. That's why they're doing it. So our job is to defend what we already have as a nation and to promote the continuation of it. Keeping things the same has never been more important than it is right now.
Now, again, I just want to say that keeping things the same is not necessarily the direction that I think we need to go. Things have changed, for sure, forever. But to the point that he's really bringing up, keeping the idea of the Constitution, keeping the idea of the betterment of society, the betterment of mankind, the betterment of all of us together, moving forward and upward. The other important thing I need everyone to remember, it's not the fellow Americans that we are trying to have this concern about or that we're trying to defend ourselves from. It's that deep state influence. It's those leaders that are trying to take us down this path. It's those leaders that have sold us out to these foreign governments. It's those leaders that have done things that have allowed them to get blackmailed to where they have to do whatever these powerful people have suggested. We need to stand up against that. And anybody that wakes up along the way, anybody that's even sort of questioning or allowing an open mind to some degree, open your hearts and minds and bring them in. Because we need as many people on board as possible. This is the time where we all must make our stand. This is the time where every one of us must defend that thing that matters to us, that thing that our grandfathers talked about, that thing that our parents fought for. That place in Iwo Jima, when they put that flag up on that hill. That is what this country was made from. And we are peaceably taking our country away from those that have been trying to do us harm. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.